So under Unit 6 we have state jurisdiction. So the meaning of jurisdiction is very simple. It means the authority or control a state or a nation has over a territory. So under law of the sea we studied about that jurisdiction is divided into maritime zones. But now let's come to the land part. How the jurisdiction of different nationals or different state is determined in terms of land. So let's start with Unit 6. Let's start with the meaning. So under international law, meaning of state jurisdiction is very simple. So it means any state's authority or control over its territory, nationals meaning its citizens, and certain activities that is within and also beyond its territorial land. So it means that if India is having state jurisdiction, it means that Indian government has full control and authority over the entire territory of India, including its citizens, that is nationals. But there is this last line which says that certain activities beyond its border. It means that if certain activity or certain incident has happened after or outside the border of India, then also certain state can exercise their jurisdiction. तो इसके ऊपर बहुत सारे exceptions होते हैं, कुछ principles भी होते हैं that allows them. तो ये मोस्टली होता है आपका इंडिविजुअल्स का अगर केस हो तो प्राइवेट इंटरनेशनल लॉ में होता है. सो सपोज अ पर्सन who is of Indian nationality goes to UK and then commits a crime, then which state will have its jurisdiction to trial that person? So this is this meaning of certain activities beyond its border. तो ये determine होता है various rules and principles से. So what is state jurisdiction? In simple language, it means state's authority and control over its territory, that is land, national, that is its citizen, and certain activities that is happening beyond its border. So also why we need state jurisdiction, because it is very important to understand different rights and responsibilities of states in that particular area. So if Indian government is having state jurisdiction in India, then India has certain rights and responsibilities under international law with respect to state jurisdiction. So this is the meaning and need for state jurisdiction. Now comes the limitations and principles part. So these are three principles which dictate state jurisdiction, which has clarified the meaning of state jurisdiction. So first is sovereignty and non-interference. So sovereignty we know it means that freedom from external rule. तो इसके अंदर क्या होता है इंटरनेशनल लॉ में, जनरली सारे स्टेट्स को सॉवरेन अथॉरिटी रहती है एक्सरसाइज करने का कंट्रोल एंड पावर on their territory. So international law respects sovereignty and also it believes that other states should refrain from interfering in other states matter. जैसे बहुत बार ऐसे न्यूज़ आती है जिसमें बोला जाता है कि that this country is doing wrong, this country is has conducted some wrongful act, but that country gives response that it is our national matter, it is our sovereign right to deal with our matter and we follow the principle of non-intervention. मतलब आप intervene मत करो, हमारा अपना पर्सनल मैटर, अपना नेशनल मैटर, वी विल डिसाइड दैट. सो दिस इज दैट प्रिंसिपल एंड इट एक्ट्स एज एन लिमिटेशन एंड ऑल्सो अ वेरी पॉजिटिव लिमिटेशन, बिकॉज इफ इट इज विथ अस, अगर इंडिया के पास है नॉन इंटरवेंशन का कि कोई इंटरवीन नहीं करेगा तो इंडिया के लिए भी बेनिफिशियल है. सो दिस इज बोथ a positive and also negative limitation. So next is principle of comity and reciprocity. So comity का मतलब होता है mutual respect between states. So under international law the state jurisdiction follows this principle of comity and says that there should be mutual respect, that okay, you are having jurisdiction in your state, we are having jurisdiction in our state, let's respect sovereignty and let's follow non-intervention principle. Next is reciprocity. इसका मतलब होता है mutual exchange of rights and privileges. इसको बेसिकली हम लोग बोल सकते हैं क्विड प्रो को, मतलब इन एक्सचेंज ऑफ समथिंग लाइक आई एम नॉट इंटरफेयरिंग सो यू शुड नॉट इंटरफेयर, आई एम ऑब्जर्विंग और रिस्पेक्टिंग द स्टेट सॉवरेनिटी प्रिंसिपल, देन यू शुड ऑल्सो. तो एक तरह का गिव एंड टेक भी होता है जब इसमें एक्स्ट्रा टेरिटोरियल जुरिस्डिक्शन का केस आता है. जैसे अभी एक एग्जाम्पल था ऊपर कि अगर कोई इंडियन नेशनल यूके में जाके क्राइम करता है देन हु विल ट्राई इट. तो ये एक्स्ट्रा टेरिटोरियल जुरिस्डिक्शन है. इंडिया इज हैविंग अ क्लेम बिकॉज द नेशनल इज इंडियन, बट हुआ कहाँ पर है, यूके में. क्राइम कमिट करने का जगह यूके में है, तो यहाँ पर दो कंट्रीज इन्वॉल्व हो गए हैं. तो इस टाइम पर क्या होता है, प्रिंसिपल ऑफ रेसिप्रोसिटी अप्लाई हो सकता है कि ओके लेट्स हैव म्यूचुअल राइट्स एंड प्रिविलेजेस, सो दैट लेटर ऑन अगर किसी यूके नेशनल के साथ ऐसा इंडिया में होता तो इंडिया विल ऑल्सो गिव कंसिडरेशन एंड रिस्पेक्ट दिस. Now next comes international law and treaties. So states exercises their jurisdiction under international law because this is one of the subjects like treaties, customs, international law. ये सारी चीज़ों को consider करके ही हम लोग state jurisdiction का principles लेके आए हैं and we follow that. So under international law, state is a subject of international law, so it comes under international law. So let's understand the types of jurisdiction, so there will be more clarity. So the first one is the territorial one. So as the name suggests, it means that jurisdiction over the territory, jurisdiction over the airspace, territorial waters and land territory that a state has. So it refers to state's authority to exercise its laws and regulation within its territory, including airspace, टेरिटोरियल वाटर एंड लैंड टेरिटरी. सो दिस इज द टेरिटोरियल जुरिसडिक्शन. अब इसका एक्सटेंट कहाँ तक होता है, मतलब ये किस किस चीज़ों पे अप्लाई होता है. सो इट अप्लाइज टू ऑल पर्सन्स, प्रॉपर्टी एंड एक्टिविटीज विद इन द टेरिटरी बिकॉज इट इज गिवन अंडर इंटरनेशनल लॉ. So next is personal jurisdiction, or we can also say that this jurisdiction is based on nationality. आपकी nationality क्या है उस पर भी determine करता है ये personal jurisdiction. So under this, if you are Indian national, तो आपकी nationality हो गई इंडिया की, लेकिन आप अगर reside करो US और UK में तो वहाँ पर भी इंडिया का claim बन सकता है state jurisdiction में under this personal jurisdiction. So let's understand it more. Personal jurisdiction, which is also known as national jurisdiction, refers to a state's authority over its nationals wherever they are located. फिर इसका एप्लीकेशन कैसे होता है, तो ये जब कोई भी एक इंडिविजुअल कोई एक्ट कमिट करता है अब्रॉड में, मतलब आउटसाइड इंडिया, आउटसाइड इंडियन टेरिटरी, सच एज क्राइम, जैसे टैक्सेशन रिलेटेड, मिलिट्री ऑब्लिगेशन रिलेटेड, या कोई भी क्राइम करता है, तो अंडर दिस प्रिंसिपल स्टेट कैन आस्क फॉर जुरिसडिक्शन अंडर एक्स्ट्रा टेरिटोरियल केसेस. तो अब नेक्स्ट है एक्स्ट्रा टेरिटोरियल जुरिसडिक्शन ऑफ स्टेट्स. सो दिस इज द थर्ड पॉइंट. एक्स्ट्रा टेरिटोरियल मतलब इट इज ऑब्वियस दैट इट इज नॉट विद इन द टेरिटरी, इट इज आउटसाइड द टेरिटरी. सो this refers to state's authority to regulate and enforce its laws outside the territory of the state, involving activities or persons with a substantial connection to that state. जैसे इससे पहले वाले स्लाइड में एक एग्जाम्पल था कि कोई भी पर्सन अगर बाहर जाकर कोई क्राइम कमिट करता है तो वो हो जाता है हम लोगों का यहाँ पे क्लेम बन सकता है पर्सनल जुरिसडिक्शन का भी, बिकॉज वी हैव जुरिसडिक्शन बेस्ड ऑन नेशनैलिटी बिकॉज दैट पर्सन बिलोंग्स टू इंडिया. And next we can also claim jurisdiction under extraterritorial jurisdiction because the India is having a substantial connection to that. और इसमें और भी चीज़ें होती हैं, जैसे अगर कोई क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी हुई या फिर कहीं पे वॉर स्टार्ट हो गया, जैसे अभी यूक्रेन में हुआ था, तो वहाँ से जितने इंडियन नेशनल्स थे उनको वापस लाया गया. तो वो उस इंडिया वॉज एबल टू डू दैट बिकॉज ऑफ दीज टू वेरी जुरिसडिक्शन. So let's understand its applicability. So states may exert extraterritorial jurisdiction in areas such as antitrust laws, corruption, human right protection or violation committed abroad by their nationals or entities. तो अगर ये सारी चीज़ें इंडियन सिटीजन्स भी बाहर जाके करते हैं, then also India will have a claim कि आप ट्राई नहीं कर सकते अपने कोर्ट में. We can also try because we are having a substantial connection with those individuals. So these are three types of jurisdiction. Let's look at the fourth one. Fourth one is the Universal Declaration. So Universal Declaration is a principle under international law that allows states to prosecute individuals for certain crimes, mainly involving heinous crimes like genocide, war crimes and war against humanity. And here the substantial connection is not required. जैसे nationality होनी चाहिए या crime India में होना चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. There should be no substantial connection and any state can prosecute an individual if they are involved in these heinous crimes like genocide, war crimes or war against humanity. So under this, a state typically brings this jurisdiction to prosecute those for international heinous crimes if there are no other state willing to do that. तो कोई भी स्टेट ये क्लेम ब्रिंग कर सकता है. जैसे यूके और रशिया में अगर वॉर चल रहा है तो कोई भी स्टेट उसके ऊपर यूनिवर्सल जुरिस्डिक्शन एक्सरसाइज करके पनिश कर सकता है कुछ इंडिविजुअल को, ट्राई कर सकता है इंडिविजुअल को, if they think that no other state is doing enough. So this is universal jurisdiction. Now let's understand three important terms, that is extradition, deportation and asylum. So extradition means the process of surrendering of one accused or convicted person from one state to another state. तो इसमें क्या होता है, जैसे कोई पर्सन है वो कोई क्राइम कमिट करके दूसरे स्टेट में भाग गया है, तो उस केस में जहां वो जाकर छुप गया है वहां से उस कंट्री का वो कंट्री एक प्रोसेस फॉलो करेगी एक्स्ट्राडिशन का, एंड दैट कंट्री विल हैंड ओवर द क्रिमिनल टू द अनदर कंट्री फ्रॉम वेयर ही हैज कमिटेड द क्राइम. तो इसका एक एग्जांपल हो सकता है नीरव मोदी, देन विजय माल्या, दे ऑल आर इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स इन इंडिया एंड दे कमिटेड द फ्रॉड एंड दे फ्लेड टू यूके. तो अगर एक्स्ट्राडिशन का कॉन्सेप्ट है तो वो वापस क्यों नहीं आ पा रहे हैं, बिकॉज वी डू नॉट हैव ट्रीटी विथ यूके. एक्स्ट्राडिशन ट्रीटी होती है हर कंट्री के डिफरेंट कंट्रीज के साथ टू मेक दिस एक्स्ट्राडिशन प्रोसेस स्मूथ. तो यूके के साथ अभी तक नहीं है, बट द टॉक इज स्टिल गोइंग ऑन. सो मेजरली द क्रिमिनल्स और द ऑफेंडर्स, इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंडर्स, दे flee to those countries that with which their state is not having such treaty. So this is the extradition. इसको और डिटेल में और नेक्स्ट स्लाइड्स में देखेंगे. नेक्स्ट इज deportation. तो deportation means expulsion of an individual from a country to their home country. तो ये मोस्टली होता है वीज़ा एक्सपायर होने के केसेस में, और इफ़ द पर्सन इज इन्वॉल्व इन पेटी ऑफेंसेस या फिर दे आर नॉट हैविंग इनफ मनी टू सर्वाइव in that country. So in this case the country is having the right to deport a foreign national to their home country. Now next is the asylum. तो asylum means protection to individuals. तो ये उन लोगों के लिए होता है जो अपनी कंट्री से भाग कर आते हैं ये बोलकर कि अगर हम लोग वहाँ पर रुकते या फिर अगर हमें वापस भेजा जाएगा we will be persecuted. और किस बेसिस पे ये persecution हो रहा है, उनके रेस पर, नेशनैलिटी, रिलीजन, एथनिसिटी, और या फिर किसी मेंबर, किसी ग्रुप, सोशल ग्रुप को बिलोंग करते हैं इसलिए. तो अगर किसी पर्सन पे थ्रेट हो इन चीज़ों के लिए कि दैट पर्सन कैन बी persecuted in their home country, then he can come to any other country and ask for asylum. तो asylum मिल भी जाता है, अगर नहीं भी मिलता है तो that is an another story. So all these three terms we will discuss in detail in another few slides. Republic of Italy versus Union of India. This case we have already studied under the law of the sea, but this is in more detail and it is directly related to state jurisdiction. So this case is also known as Enrica Lexi case. इस केस में क्या हुआ था कि कुछ फिशरमैन थे केरला के कोस्ट में, they were fishing and they were in the exclusive economic zone, मतलब within 200 nautical miles from the baseline of India. तो वहाँ पर एक इटालियन शिप थी that was navigating and they thought them of pirates and they shot them dead. So the Indian officials held them and started trialing them. Then what happened? Italy appealed in the ICJ stating that India do not have jurisdiction because those are of my nationality, Italian nationality. So the court said that the incident happened in the India's exclusive economic zone where Indian laws will be applicable. So the India will have the jurisdiction over those two accused. So this was the case relating to state sovereignty under the law of the seas. Let's understand the concept of extradition. So extradition is a formal process by which one state, the requested state, surrenders a person within its jurisdiction to another state, requesting state where that person is pending for prosecution or to serve a sentence for the crime that he has committed. So to have extradition process in a country, there are certain principles and practices. So the basis, so typically the extraditions are governed by bilateral or multilateral treaties existing between requested and requesting state. So there are certain rare cases where in order to have goodwill or to gain goodwill, the states which do not have treaty with certain state also helps in extradition. Next is requirement. So the requesting state must provide evidence of all alleged crime and ensure that the offense is extraditable under the laws of both states. तो ऐसा कोई क्राइम होना चाहिए जो दोनों स्टेट में ऑफेंस हो, एंड ऑल्सो उस ऑफेंस या क्राइम का एविडेंस देना पड़ता है रिक्वेस्टिंग स्टेट को कि दैट दिस इंडिविजुअल हैज बीन इन्वॉल्व्ड इन दिस एंड he needs to be a trial for that. So next is human rights consideration. So states have to provide evidence that the trial will be fair and there will be no risk of torture or discrimination against that person. So these are some of the requirement, or we can say practices under the international law in terms of extradition. So example, so extraditions of individuals accused of terrorism or organized crime, or we can say economic offenders, is a common practice among states seeking to uphold international justice and combat transnational crimes. So mostly there are three heads under which extradition cases are more. First is terrorism, organized crime, and also economic offenders. In case of India, the maximum are economic offenders. So let's take example and study these cases. So India has entered into extradition treaties with 47 countries. So it means that these 47 countries have liability or obligation towards India to help India with the extradition cases. So first is Vijay Mallya, then Nirav Modi. These two are economic offenders. They have committed crime relating to money. So the talks are still going on with UK to hand over Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi, but unfortunately we do not have treaty of extradition with UK. But the Indian government is still trying to sign that treaty, or even without treaty, to complete this extradition process. Now we have a successful extradition case, that is Abu Salim case. So Abu Salim was involved in the 1993 Mumbai terror attack. So by intelligence, India got to know that he is hiding in Portugal. So India requested for extradition from the Portuguese government, and then the Portuguese arrested him and surrendered it to India for the further legal dispute resolving. So these are some of the cases under extradition of India. And there is one more case, that is this one. This person was arrested and then hand over to India. So he was involved in the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks in 2008. He was a Pakistan born Canadian man. So by the request of India to US for the extradition of this man, we got this man in India for the trial purpose. Deportation. So deportation involves the expulsion of an individual from a country back to their home country or another country, usually due to immigration violations, criminal activities, or national security concerns. So these are some of the reasons why a country may deport an individual to their home country or any other country. So principles and practices. So administrative process क्या होता है deportation में? So it is typically an administrative process carried out by immigration authorities based on national immigration laws and regulations. So इसमें laws क्या apply होते हैं, कौन से regulations होते हैं? So all are relating to immigration laws. Next, human rights safeguards. So states are required to ensure that deportation comply with international human rights standards, including not returning individuals to countries where they may face persecution. तो अगर persecution होने वाला है, अगर उनको वापस भेज दिया जाए तो उस केस में deportation नहीं हो सकता है. So human right consideration will also be taken seriously. Next is example. So governments may deport undocumented migrants or individuals involved in criminal activities back to their home countries following due process and legal procedures. So किन cases में होता है? We know that if they have violated the immigration rules, criminal activities है उनका either in that particular country or in their home country, or there are national security concerns. In these cases, any country can deport foreign nationals back to their home countries. Asylum. Asylum is the protection granted by a state to individuals who have fled their home country due to fear of persecution, which can be based on race, nationality, religion, political opinion, or membership of any social group. So these are the reason in which an individual can seek asylum in any other country for protection. So principles and practices. So this asylum is governed by international refugee law, including the 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 protocol. तो जितने भी रूल्स एंड प्रिंसिपल्स हैं इंटरनेशनल रिफ्यूजी लॉ में, रिफ्यूजी कन्वेंशन और प्रोटोकॉल में, वो सारे एप्लीकेबल होते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ providing asylum or seeking asylum. So these also determines the rights and obligation of states towards such individuals. So non refoulement, तो इसका मतलब होता है non returnment. अगर कोई ऐसा इंडिविजुअल आपके पास आता है और आपको बोलता है कि दैट इफ यू सेंड मी बैक टू दैट कंट्री आई मे डाई और आई मे फेस टॉर्चर और persecution, so in that case this asylum law or the refugee law says this principle should be applicable, that states are prohibited from returning refugees to countries where their lives or freedoms would be threatened. तो जैसे अभी जितने भी अभी यूक्रेन में जितना भी वॉर चल रहा है, तो अगर वहाँ के यूक्रेनियन भाग कर दूसरे स्टेट जाते हैं तो वो स्टेट्स उनको वापस नहीं भेज सकते हैं ये बोल के कि नो वी डू नॉट वांट टू गिव यू शेल्टर. They cannot send them back, but उनको रोक सकते हैं कि do not enter our country. So there is this difference. So we have this principle of non-refoulement. Next is responsibility sharing. So international cooperation aims to share responsibility for hosting and protecting refugees among states. That's why under international law these refugee laws are so strong, because international law talks about human rights, international law talks about freedom, privileges, so they take the asylum concept very seriously. So example is states may grant asylum to individuals fleeing political persecution, war or human right abuses, providing them with legal status and protection. तो बहुत सारे states क्या करते हैं ना, refugees लेते हैं, मतलब उनको अलाउ कर देते हैं, उसके बाद कुछ टाइम के बाद उनको लीगल स्टेटस भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं, प्रोटेक्शन भी देते हैं, एंड लेटर ऑन दोज रिफ्यूजीज कैन बिकम द नेशनल्स ऑफ दोज कंट्री. So here I have included this chart which is showing the asylum applicants granted protection status in the EU. तो यूरोपियन यूनियन बहुत ज़्यादा एक्टिव है asylum प्रोवाइड करने में. उसका रीज़न है उसका जियो पॉलिटिकल strategy and also location. तो जैसे वो located है, mostly these countries सीरिया, अफगानिस्तान, वेनेजुएला, वहाँ के लोग EU बहुत जाते हैं and apply करते हैं for seeking asylum and they have got asylum. तो यहाँ पे और भी countries है जैसे मॉली, नाइजीरिया, यूक्रेन, टर्की, सोमालिया, इराक. तो जहाँ जहाँ conflict है, जहाँ भी war torn situation चल रहा है यहाँ, या जहाँ पर पॉलिटिकल फ्रीडम नहीं है, वहाँ के इंडिविजुअल ज़्यादा asylum सीक करते हैं. सो दिस इज द 2022 रिपोर्ट ऑफ EU. Now these are types of territorial asylum. Political asylum भी ले सकता है कोई, refugee asylum and general asylum की इकोनॉमिक बेटरमेंट के लिए आ रहे हैं, हमारे कंट्री में पैसा नहीं है, जॉब नहीं है, सो वी आर कमिंग फॉर दैट, सो उसमें भी असाइलम ले सकते हैं. रिफ्यूजी उनकी खुद की कंट्री में वॉर चल रहा है या फिर उनकी खुद की कंट्री में उनको फियर है फॉर देयर लाइफ. देन पॉलिटिकल असाइलम, कोई डिफेक्टर है, उनका पॉलिटिकल ओपिनियन नहीं मैच कर रहा है या फिर दे आर अगेंस्ट द गवर्नमेंट, देन ऑल्सो दे कैन सीक पॉलिटिकल असाइलम. तो इसका एक एग्जाम्पल है, जब चाइना में बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स चल रही थी, देन दलाई लामा वॉज वेरी मच इन्फ्लुएंशियल एंड पीपल वर फॉलोइंग हिम. तो दलाई लामा व्हाट ही डिड, ही टुक रिफ्यूज, ही टुक असाइलम फ्रॉम इन इंडिया. तो वो लद्दाख में असाइलम लेके रह रहे हैं. तो जब ये बात चाइना को पता चली, चाइना गॉट वेरी एंग्री विद इंडिया एंड it resulted in a conflict. So India has given asylum to Dalai Lama because Dalai Lama took it as a political asylum. So let's understand better about state jurisdiction through these cases. So let's start with arrest warrant of 11th April 2000. इसके केस का नाम है Democratic Republic of the Congo versus Belgium. So this case was filed in ICJ in the year 2002. So the background is that Belgium wanted to prosecute the foreign minister of the Congo because the Belgium said that they have committed the crime against humanity and they were involved in the incitement or provocation to genocide. So they exercise their universal jurisdiction. So the issue was whether they can exercise universal jurisdiction under international law, and also whether uh, the foreign minister of Democratic Republic of Congo is responsible for crimes against humanity. So ICJ decision was not in the favor of Belgium, and it ruled that as a sitting foreign minister, his name is Yerodia. Yerodia cannot be prosecuted since he enjoys immunity under international law. Immunity privileges के बारे में हम लोग next unit में पढ़ेंगे. So this case will become more clear. And also you can use this case in both the answers, like while writing state jurisdiction and also while explaining the immunity and privileges. So ICJ said that no foreign minister cannot be prosecuted by the Belgium because he enjoys certain immunity from prosecution under international law. And ICJ also emphasized the importance of respecting the immunity of the government officials to preserve effective diplomatic relations between states. So here the Belgium wanted to exercise the Universal Declaration because the foreign minister of Congo was alleged for committing the crime against humanity and also genocide. But ICJ said that the head of foreign minister enjoys immunity against prosecution, so he cannot be trial, and it is important for maintaining the diplomatic relations between states. So this was the case between Congo and Belgium, which happened in 2002. Now let's come back to an Indian case, that is Abu Salim versus State of Maharashtra 2011. This case we have already discussed, but let's discuss it more. So Abu Salim was extradited from Portugal to India to face trial for his involvement in the 1993 Mumbai bombings and other criminal activities. So the case was basically about extradition law and procedural challenges to the extradition process. And so India guaranteed US that there will be fair trial and there will be human rights protection. So please hand Abu Salim to us so we can proceed with our legal proceeding. So Supreme Court of India affirmed that Abu Salim's extradition has resulted in the international cooperation in combating terrorism and also ensuring justice for victims of terrorist attacks. So this is also interesting case, so you can remember this one also, Abu Salim versus State of Maharashtra 2011, and this one is also easy, that is Democratic Republic of the Congo versus Belgium. That was all in your unit 6 about state jurisdiction. So in terms of question, a long question may come about state jurisdiction. So you can write the entire PPT that I have given, like meaning of state jurisdiction, why state jurisdiction is important, what are the types of state jurisdiction, and under that you can also explain the concepts like extradition, asylum and deportation, and please include the last two case clauses that I have discussed. It will be sufficient for writing this answer. And also in terms of short note, a short note may come on explaining the concept like explain extradition under international law or explain asylum under international law or deportation. So go through it and try to prepare answer in both the format, long and short. So all the best for unit 6.